Welcome. Tonight, we travel far from the present day into a distant and shadowed moment of history, a time remembered for hardship, fear, and immense change. Yet, in this story, we move gently through the narrow lanes and soft candlelight of medieval France, seeking not terror, but the quiet endurance of ordinary people. Our story unfolds not in the halls of kings or the records of chroniclers, but in the worn, caring hands of a poor villager, someone who lived, worked, and hoped through the years the Black Plague swept the land. This is not a tale of suffering, but one of resilience. In a world where uncertainty reigned, people found ways to keep moving forward, baking bread at dawn, sharing whispers with neighbors, tending small gardens, and finding comfort in small routines. Through gentle storytelling, soothing detail, and quiet reflection, let us walk a day, perhaps a night, in the life of someone often forgotten by history, but essential to its heart. Let your mind settle. Feel the cool night air of the French countryside, the distant sound of a church bell, and the flicker of a single candle in a tiny stone cottage. In the hush of this moment, we begin. Segment 1, A Day in the Life. France, 1348. Imagine a small village in the rolling hills of southern France. The fields are dappled with the first light of morning, still heavy with dew. Our story centers on Jeanne, a widow in her early 30s. Her husband, like so many, was lost to the fever the previous autumn, but Jeanne has endured, quietly, steadily, and always with hope. The cottage is simple. Stone walls, a straw roof patched carefully against rain, a wooden table set with only the barest necessities. A tattered shawl lies folded by the door. Jeanne rises before the sun, awakened by the rooster's gentle call and the muffled sounds of animals stirring nearby. She takes a slow breath, grounding herself in the rhythm of another day. First, she checks on her small daughter, Madeleine, still sleeping soundly beneath a rough linen sheet. Jeanne pauses, brushing a stray curl from the child's brow, listening to the even, gentle breathing that anchors her heart. In this small moment, love is a shield against the world outside. Stepping into the chill of the early morning, Jeanne draws water from the well behind their cottage. The handle creaks, a familiar, comforting sound. With each pull, she is reminded that even in times of trouble, simple acts endure. Water for porridge, water for cleaning, water for the stubborn little herbs she keeps in clay pots on the window ledge. She prepares a thin breakfast. Oats, boiled with a pinch of wild mint for flavor. The food is humble, but Jen offers it to her daughter with quiet pride, careful not to betray her own worry. As they eat, the sounds of the village slowly awaken. Soft voices, distant hammering, the bleating of goats. Jeanne's days are measured by small rituals. Tending the garden, mending clothes, caring for chickens. She greets neighbors with gentle words across narrow fences, each greeting laced with unspoken concern, yet also with the warmth of shared humanity. Sometimes there are stories, news of distant towns, rumors, and always the question of who has fallen ill and who has been spared. The church bell tolls mid-morning. In ordinary times, this would mean gathering for prayer. Now the gatherings are smaller, more hesitant, as fear lingers in the air. Still, faith is a comfort, and Jeanne pauses to say her own prayers quietly, the words a private lullaby for strength. As the sun climbs, Jeanne's tasks continue. Patching the roof, collecting eggs, soothing her daughter's fretful questions about the world outside their door. She answers gently, always with hope. explaining that hard times will pass, that kindness matters most, and that the fields will bloom again come spring. Afternoon brings a visit from an older neighbor, Pierre, who shares a little bread and quiet news. They sit together at a respectful distance, speaking of the past harvest, of better years, and of small blessings, like the taste of fresh thyme, or the laughter of a healthy child. Their conversation is soft, almost musical, broken by long silences that need no filling. By evening, the day's work is done. Jeanne and Madeleine sit by the fire, candlelight dancing on the stone walls. Jeanne mends a warm cloak while Madeleine arranges pebbles in quiet patterns on the floor. Outside, the village is hushed, but inside their home, there is warmth, the scent of herbs, and the feeling, fragile but real, that peace can still be found. As the last embers fade, Jeanne tucks her daughter into bed, humming a lullaby her mother once sang. She stands for a moment in the quiet, listening to the night, the distant bark of a dog, the whisper of wind through trees, and the slow, steady heartbeat of life carrying on. In this small home, on this ordinary day, we find the heart of endurance, gentle, unyielding, and deeply human. As the days unfold, the quiet rhythms of the village gently continue. In these uncertain times, every person's story is shaped by moments of loss, of hope, and of silent perseverance. The world outside may feel fragile, yet, within these stone walls, life persists in subtle, beautiful ways. Jean's hands are never still. Even in the long evenings, as dusk spills through the narrow window, she finds comfort in simple tasks, stitching, stirring, mending. Each movement connects her to memories of her mother and her mother before that. There is a lineage of resilience in these gestures, passed down not through words, but through gentle acts of care. On a particularly quiet evening, Jeanne sits by the fire, Madeleine resting against her side. The child's small fingers trace circles in the dust, drawing shapes that only she understands. Jeanne watches her, feeling the tender ache of love and worry, how fragile life is, and yet how precious each moment becomes. She hums a lullaby from her own childhood, letting the melody float softly in the air, a thread of comfort tying the past to the present. Sometimes, Madeleine asks softly about her father. The questions come not as sharp interruptions, but as gentle ripples carried by the hush of the room. Jeanne answers with stories. She tells of his laughter, his kindness to neighbors, his habit of bringing wildflowers home when the fields were green. These stories become a tapestry, a gentle reassurance that love endures, even when faces and voices fade. Across the village, other stories unfold in equally quiet ways. Pierre, the elderly neighbor, tends his small garden with careful attention. He often pauses to speak to his plants, or to greet Jeanne with a soft word of encouragement over the fence. His back is bent, his step slow, but his spirit is quietly unbroken. Some evenings he leaves a sprig of rosemary or a handful of berries by Jeanne's door. A silent offering, a reminder that even small kindnesses matter deeply. The village healer, Marguerite, moves gently from house to house, her presence marked by the soft jingling of the herb satchel at her waist. She is known for her calm, steady voice and for her patience with the children. When she visits Jeanne and Madeleine, she brings a small bundle of lavender and sage, instructing them on how to hang it near the door for comfort and protection. Marguerite shares news of those who are ill, but also tells stories of recovery, quiet moments of hope that ripple outward, touching every home. In the evenings, when the sky is clear and the air cool, Jeanne sometimes steps outside, Madeleine's small hand wrapped in hers. Together, they watch the stars emerge, bright and ancient above the dark rooftops. Jeanne points out constellations, her voice soft and steady, grounding her daughter in the certainty of the night sky. It is a simple ritual, but it brings a gentle peace, a sense that despite all uncertainty, there is beauty still and a world beyond their troubles. The villagers find connection in small, unspoken ways. Bread left at a doorstep, a quiet wave from across a field, a candle burning in a window, signaling that life endures within. Each act is a message. You are not alone. We carry each other through this, one gentle day at a time. And so, in the hush of each evening, Jeanne holds her daughter close, listens to the steady beat of her own heart, and remembers that, even in darkness, the smallest lights are enough to guide us home. Beyond the walls of Jean's small cottage, a vast world continues to turn, slowly, quietly changed by forces too large to see all at once. The Black Plague, known in these days as simply the pestilence, sweeps across the countryside, its shadow touching villages, towns, and cities alike. Yet, for Jean and her neighbors, history does not arrive with a loud voice. It settles softly, as uncertainty in the air, as empty chairs at family tables, as prayers whispered in the dark. The land is different now. In the past, the fields outside the village were alive with laughter and the cheerful shouts of many hands working together. Now, the wheat grows taller and wilder, patches of earth lying fallow, where once there was careful order. Each home keeps more to itself, yet there is a deeper bond in the quiet, an understanding that all are facing the same unseen trial, and that kindness is more important than ever. Jeanne remembers sometimes what life was like before the sickness. She recalls bustling fairs in the nearby town, the sound of bells from the marketplace, the peace of evenings spent with friends around a single loaf of bread. In these memories, there is sadness, but also a sense of gratitude for the times that were and for the small joys that still remain. The church, once a gathering place for song and celebration, now stands as a place of silent prayer. People enter quietly, lighting candles for loved ones lost and for hopes not yet surrendered. The priest, Father Benoit, offers words not of fear, but of gentle reassurance, that every hardship will pass, that every winter gives way to spring, and that the love people carry for one another can outlast even the hardest seasons. From time to time, travelers arrive, merchants with carts half empty, messengers with news from distant lands. Their words are cautious, sometimes filled with rumor, sometimes with truth. Jeanne listens, learning that other villages have suffered as hers has, but also hearing stories of recovery, fields planted anew, laughter returning to quiet lanes, the return of festivals beneath the summer sky. These distant hopes feel fragile, but they are treasured all the same. Marguerite the healer speaks softly of new ways to care for the sick, of herbs and prayers, of keeping hope alive even when answers are few. She reminds Jeanne, and all who will listen, that every generation faces trials, sometimes longer, sometimes heavier, but that people always find ways to adapt, to learn, and to carry forward what is most precious. The plague brings changes that will linger long after it has faded. There are fewer hands for the harvest, but this means each one is valued more dearly. there is more room for voices that were once quiet, and in the spaces left behind, new bonds are formed between neighbors, between strangers, between past and future. For Jean, the greatest lesson is not about suffering, but about resilience. She learns to see beauty in the smallest details, the softness of her daughter's hair, the gold of late afternoon sunlight on the stone floor, the taste of bread shared on a quiet evening. She learns slowly and gently that even when the world is changed, the heart of life, love, connection, and hope remains. And so, as the days stretch into weeks and seasons turn, the village finds its way. There are new ways of living, of remembering, and of dreaming for what might come next. The world outside may be uncertain, but within the hearts of those who endure, there is always a place for hope. Time, in its quiet way, begins to soften the sharp edges of hardship. Seasons shift, the days lengthen, and the gentle warmth of spring seeps into the air. For Jeanne and her daughter, each new sunrise is a promise, a small assurance that life moves forward gently, even when scars remain. Outside, the fields stir once more with color. Wildflowers push through the grass, bright and delicate, their petals opening to the sun as if reaching for a future untouched by fear. Jeanne and Madeleine walk together along old familiar paths, their footsteps light in the dew-soaked earth. Where silence once lay heavy, now there are soft conversations, laughter echoing quietly between homes as neighbors dare to hope again. Pierre, the old neighbor, waves from his garden, a smile crinkling his weathered face. The plants he tended through so many seasons seem stronger now, vibrant with new growth. He shares his rosemary and berries as he always has, but now with an extra word of encouragement, a gentle reminder that hard times deepen our bonds. At church, candles burn brighter. The community gathers, not in fear, but in gratitude, sharing stories of what was lost and what was found. There is a sense of unity that did not exist before, a quiet understanding that every act of kindness, no matter how small, matters deeply. Father Benoit's voice is steady and warm, speaking not just of faith, but of the strength found in each other. Jeanne finds comfort in small routines, kneading dough, singing softly to her daughter, tending the little garden outside her door. Madeleine grows taller and braver with each passing day, her laughter a gentle echo of hope. Together they plant new seeds, herbs and wildflowers, symbols of renewal and the gentle persistence of life. The village as a whole learns to remember without bitterness, to honor those who are gone, and to cherish those who remain. Meals are shared more freely, songs are sung for those who cannot sing themselves. In this healing, there is space for quiet joy, for reflection, and for new beginnings. As dusk falls, Jeanne stands by the window, watching the golden light settle over the hills. The world outside is changed, but it is not broken. There is peace in the knowledge that, even in the hardest times, life finds its way. Each gentle evening, each shared smile, is a quiet act of resilience, a reminder that hope, once kindled, is not easily extinguished. Let us leave Jeanne here, in the warmth of her home, surrounded by the soft glow of possibility. Her story, like so many others, is a testament to the gentle strength that carries humanity through every storm. And as night settles, let us remember that in every heart there remains a light, a whisper of resilience, guiding us forward together